Hi, Victor Olliver, the beach bum astrologer. I've been a bit absent this summer. I'm so busy with one thing and another. I'm developing a book editing or editorial services area on my website, and I've been working on a couple of books. Postcards to the Future by Anne Whitaker will be published very shortly. I do recommend that you buy it. I am an interested party in that I edited the book, but it's a fabulous book. But I'm not here today to be a walking advert. I thought I'd check in because I know some of you cannot sleep without casting your eyes upon me and listening to my various ramblings on astrology. I'm on the beach as usual. As you see, it's a very overcast day. I've got a pair of crows keeping me company to my left. I won't put them on the camera, it might go to their heads. I thought I'd talk about Afghanistan today. I'll keep it very brief. Great tragedy, what's happened there. I have my own personal views about the rights and wrongs. But I wouldn't be much of an astrologer if I allowed my perspective to, shall we say, alter what I see in the charts. Afghanistan's interesting in that there is the modern chart, which is dated 22nd of December 2001, 12 minutes past 1 for Kabul. That's when the post-Taliban government was formed, thanks largely to the American invasion during the Bush administration. But there is an earlier chart, actually, of 1747, which I think actually tells us more about the actual character of the nation. It's a very fixed chart. It's Sun in Leo, conjunct the MC, the midheaven, the direction, the chart direction, life direction point. Scorpio rising, that's another fixed sign, but also Mars and Pluto conjunct in the first house. That gives the nation amazing resilience and potential for immense aggression too. And of course, it is a nation of turmoil and has resisted all invaders, even when they've had a foothold within the nation, such as the Americans recently, such as the Russians years back. They couldn't break Afghanistan. So this is an amazing country. It's amazingly tough, even if it's not a united one. But the chart we're looking at today, and it's basically a death chart that we're looking at today, because it's the marker of where the transiting planets are in relation to the 22nd of December 2001 chart. It's a bit of a nothing chart in many respects, in that it doesn't hold a great deal in terms of promise. When this new government, which is now gone, has flown away, as the Taliban are in the process of installing themselves in Kabul and around the country. But when back in 2001 Afghanistan was reinvented post-Taliban, the moon was void, of course, in Pisces. And I can't think of a worse point to start a nation. Void, of course, simply means that the moon was not forming any major alignments with other planets. It's like it's almost directionless, and that symbolizes something literal. When you're casting a chart, if you're looking at the health of the chart, a void, of course, is not terminal, but it just simply means that there may be a lack of direction or lack of unity, a lack of oomph, which may seem a facetious thing to say in relation to a whole nation, but I'm afraid these things can be reduced to such things when you're sort of just casting your eye over a chart. And in Pisces too, quite a nebulous sign, not in itself a weakness, but if you're thinking about the nation, especially one that's divided and surrounded by enemies, Pisces is perhaps a problematic sign, because it's about diffusion, it's about borderlessness, lack of boundaries, and the rest of it. Now, I'm looking at the transits for today basically, and it's quite telling that Afghanistan, if you were looking at this point from a previous period, you would say the nation is going through a defining moment. That's an underestimate as to the reality. But a lot of astrology, you have to look retrospectively to see where the planets are. And if you're seeing a lot of good signs in bad news, you know you're not looking at the right chart. The chart for Afghanistan right now is a nightmare. I've just made a few notes, not like me to make notes, but I wanted to get it right. We've got transiting Neptune very close to the moon It's actually out of orb, but it certainly will be joining the moon within orb next year. But Neptune close to the moon is a sure sign that one's conception of the nation, one's conception of the home, is going to undergo some major change. And Neptune has a tendency, particularly in conjunction, and especially with the moon, I've noticed in my own personal experience, to signal loss of some kind. Or if you want to put it in a less tendentious way, it certainly represents a complete transmutation of what you think the nation is as your home. And of course we know that the Taliban, whatever promises they make, will be bringing in their own ideas, which will certainly not be compatible with what the West was trying to bring in, and which many Afghans were very happy about, I think. But there we are. Neptune is working its way on the moon and will be very much signalling loss there. We then have transiting Saturn in a conjunction cycle with the natal Neptune. And here again, it's the theme of old structures such as Saturn, authority, dissolving. It's a dissolving conjunction, and is remarkably apt when you think about it. The North Node is very close to Saturn. Here again, the North Node is very much the destiny point. It's currently in Gemini. The North Node, remember, is always going retrograde, and Saturn happens to be the ruler of Afghanistan's sun. So this is a very significant pointer in the chart, and in a sense is a marker of the end of something or the start of something. We've also got transiting Jupiter applying to conjoin natal Uranus in the 11th, which is one of the houses of government. And when Jupiter stations direct in October, on October the 18th, it will be exactly conjunct Uranus, the natal Uranus, which is on 22nd degrees Aquarius. 22nd degrees is quite an interesting one. The COVID chart has the sun on 22nd Capricorn degrees Capricorn. It's rapidly, in my mind, becoming a degree to watch for things that start that you don't want to start, or for things to end that you have resisted the ending of, so to speak. We've got transiting Uranus in conjunct Pluto. Again, it's another indicator of fundamental changes, but not comfortable ones, I'm afraid. Even more tellingly, transiting Mars is opposite natal Mars. In context, this is very much, Mars represents the military, it represents force, and an opposition is very much a marker of, if not violence, then certainly of confrontation, and we can certainly agree that that applies. Interesting too, transiting Sun, as I'm speaking, is opposing Uranus, which again is another indicator of instability, of sudden change. It is a marked thing about what's happened in Afghanistan, how fast it's all been, and very sudden. I mean, President Biden, even he has admitted being taken unawares by the speed of events. And although I'm not quite sure what he expected to happen, if you actually take people out, you don't even let the government know that certain parts of the country are going to be liberated of the Americans, to put it politely. What do you think that void is going to be filled with? You can't, after the fact, tell people to fight, even if there may be some merit in his claim that an insufficient number of Afghan people were prepared to fight the Taliban. And the chart ruler Venus is square the natal sun, another indication of unhappiness. Anyway, not the lightest of posts today, and I'm sorry I've rushed through the aspects, but I thought I'd go through the list just to say to you just how articulate astrology can be. And I hope that, although I will do another post on Afghanistan once the Taliban has established itself as the next government. I mean, it's very much at the moment mopping up, isn't it? And making sure that people are leaving the country that they want to leave, such as the Americans, such as the British, and so forth. But once they've established themselves in Kabul and announced their new president, leader, or whatever, then I'll cast a new chart. And I should be very interested to see if it resembles in some way the old 1747 chart, because that chart is still applicable. It's still resonant in the history of the nation insofar as its resilience is concerned. I hope you've enjoyed my little chat. I'm getting up now, struggling to my feet. I'm sorry the sun's not out today. My friends, the crows, I don't know whether you can see them there. Maybe you can, maybe you can't. But I don't think it's going to rain. I may go for a long walk this afternoon. I should be doing some work. But, you know, my kind of work, if you get tired, you're not going to be very good. And I like long walks. You know. So thank you for joining me today. And I will try to post more videos as the summer deepens, but sometimes it's quite breezy here. You may be able to hear the wind a bit. It's a bit breezy today actually, and the beach gets very busy. I mean, if I turn around, you can see in the distance people. Maybe you can, maybe you can't. The surfers are out today, and the paddle boarders, and goodness knows what else. Anyway, thanks for joining me. Bye bye.